am shaving my head today,
and
I wanted to document this process. Maybe share some thoughts before I actually go and shave my head, and then share how I feel afterwards. A lot of people ask me recently when I share with them that I'm going to shave my head, why am I doing that? And my reasons right now. The simple one is I just want to, but also it's not an impulsive decision. I've been wanting to shave my head for years. It's a FU to conventional beauty standards. It's a symbolic letting go. It's a transformation for me. I want to let go of a past self. It's a shedding. It's a molting like snakes or tarantulas or hermit crabs. And I'm not doing it for appearance purposes, besides to embrace myself in the rawest form.
I did it. I'm really glad that I pulled through. And I do feel free.
She was a little nervous at first, but she did it anyway. Started cutting more, and it kind of ended up giving her a bob cut. And here's the bob cut. And then eventually she just said go for it. So here's the first shave.
Oh my god, the middle part.
And then the second one. And here's the final product.
It's really pretty. So I'm guessing it's going to look good. Aesthetically, I don't think it's the worst thing. Like, some women really pull it off and it looks cool. Oh my god, you're crying. It's just so, God.
Verse 5, in this way in former times, the holy women also who hoped in God used to adorn themselves from the inside, being submissive to their own husbands. This is unmistakable. This is unmistakable. Any effort to overthrow this is an attack on God and on the divine order, which of course is what feminism in all of its elements is, an outright attack on God.
Our system is designed to erase and eradicate every vestige of masculinity from our boys, okay? Every vestige of masculinity from our boys. Our school system, our pedagogical methods, our entire school culture is designed for little girls to be successful and little boys to be frustrated and put on Ritalin, okay? So that they sit there docile like little girls, okay? We emasculate them. We make them compete with girls throughout their whole lives and not see them as the weaker sex to be protected, but just another dude with breasts.
The videos we just saw of these girls shaving their heads is a disturbing trend on TikTok, where countless girls are shaving their heads to protest traditional biblical gender roles.
They had a feminist movement back in Corinth. When women uncover their heads, that is equally wrong, and some in the church must have been doing it. They were uncovering their heads while praying or speaking, and it disgraced them to do that. It'd just be like someone with a shaved head, and we know from history that women who were feminists shaved their heads as a protest. If a woman doesn't cover her head, let her also have her hair cut off. But if it is disgraceful for a woman to have her hair cut off or her head shaved, let her cover her head. In other words, the ultimate disgrace would be to shave your head, but it's also a disgrace to take the covering off in that society, so leave the covering on.
Instead of embracing God's design for them as females and women made in the image of God, these girls are essentially telling God that they hate how He made them, and they are going to live their lives in direct rebellion to their God-given identity. It's extremely disturbing that the very concept of womanhood is being erased in our culture today. Matt Walsh's movie, What is a Woman?, started the process of exposing just how bad things have gotten.
So what is a woman?
Why do you ask that question?
I just really like to know.
What do you think the answer to that question is?
Well, I'm asking. That's why I came to a college professor who's this is what you do.
What other kinds of answers have you gotten?
A lot of like this, where you're not answering, and I've gotten a lot of that. So.
Well, for me, it's actually a really simple answer, and that's a person who identifies as a woman.
But what are they identifying as?
As a woman.
But what is that?
As a woman.
Do you know what a circular definition is?
I do.
It's sort of like what you're doing right now.
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't, because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
Our culture has become so insane that even dictionaries have started changing the definition of woman to appease the mob that is trying to destroy all differences between men and women.
So the Cambridge Dictionary, and I always want to say Cambridge Analytica, it rolls off the tongue.
Not the same.
Cambridge Dictionary just changed the definition of woman. Here's the change, okay? Cambridge, they added this new definition. In addition to the other ones, this is an addendum. An adult who lives and identifies as female, though they may have been said to have a different sex at birth.
Right.
Sources say.
Yes.
Good. I don't understand this.
Here's some examples. Can I hear it in a sentence? Sure, you psycho. She was the first trans woman elected to a national office.
It's truly dystopian when even renowned dictionaries are changing language to accommodate the radical, nonsensical idea that men can actually be women and women can actually be men. But the culture isn't just pressuring young women into rejecting the biblical concept of femininity. The culture is also working very hard to destroy the concept of masculinity. Take a look at this ad from Gillette, which caused a lot of controversy about the concept of toxic masculinity.
Bullying.
The Me Too movement against sexual harassment.
Masculinity.
Is this the best a man can get? Is it?
It's likely happening here in bullying, as well. A problem.
We can't hide from it.
Sexual harassment is taking over.
It's been going on far too long. We can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy?
What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
Allegations regarding sexual assault and sexual harassment.
But she says
and there will be no going back. Because we believe in the best in men.
Men need to hold other men accountable.
Smile, sweetie.
Come on.
To say the right thing. To act the right way.
Bro, not cool, not cool.
Some already are. In ways big
Yo, men, for everyone.
and small.
I am strong.
But some is not enough.
It's not how we treat each other, okay? Okay.
Because the boys watching today will be the men of tomorrow.
The big question all of this raises is, what exactly is a man? Is there any real difference between men and women?
We've been told for decades, right? We've been told for decades that all of these things are social constructs. The roles of men and women, the toys that they play with, the things that they like. Who are we to say that, girls can't like trucks and football and, boys can't like, dolls and whatever, right? We've been told that for decades. An attack on masculinity is an attack on the God who created us. He created us male and female. We are not the same. And there is beauty in the differences between male and female.
This is precisely the reason why men like Andrew Tate have become enormously popular. Because they fill a void for young men who are looking for examples of strong masculinity, which the culture is seeking to completely destroy.
I didn't put a magic spell on everybody. I managed to accumulate a large amount of affinity with the male populace across the Western world because I'm simply saying things that many men believe, think, and feel.
The best take on Andrew Tate I've heard is that although Tate has correctly diagnosed one of the big problems in Western culture today, he doesn't offer the correct solution.
Yep. I'm saying there's a large contingent of men in the world who like the idea of the traditional masculine view of the world, who feel happy when they watch 80s action heroes with big muscles and they run around. And there's nothing toxically masculine about having a fast car and a beautiful girlfriend and making a bunch of money. And
nothing at all.
Absolutely. And those are the people who are my fans.
Tate is absolutely correct that young men need examples of strong masculinity, and that our culture is destroying the very concept of masculinity.
The feminist lie has been that patriarchy is bad. It is tyrannical. It is toxic. It needs to be destroyed. And they've been doing it for decades. To destroy masculinity, to destroy strong male leadership and character leads to the current disaster. Irresponsible men running loose in the streets, terrorizing a society. Weak men have given us this legacy. Weak men produce the death of society. And men are in a crisis today. They are being continually told to try to get in touch with their feminine side. So they have become defensive about their masculinity.
And the problem is that when you attack masculinity, you are actually attacking a preserving force. If you don't have strong men in a culture, then what you have is young men who are not kept in check. And what do? They wreak havoc. And when those young men wreak havoc, you start looking around, and what do you immediately want? You immediately want someone or something strong enough to bring that into order again. So it's like we're creating creating a problem that we're going to have to run around and try to solve. And the way that that problem is solved is by the very thing that you attacked in the first place.
However, Tate's version of masculinity involves accumulating wealth and then flaunting that wealth for the world to see.
But now, the mainstream press is commenting on the fact that I was informing Greta that my very extensive car collection with internal combustion engines, which run on dead dinosaurs, have an enormous emission profile.
But of course, this is not true biblical masculinity, which is what young men in the culture really need. We need men who stand firm upon the Word of God, and not men whose foundation is wealth and worldly success.
We can start as believers by understanding the most basic fundamental virtue, the core virtue of manliness. The word I like to use is fortitude. Mark it down in your mind. You don't need to write it down. I'm going to say it enough you won't forget it. Fortitude. What is fortitude? It's a great word. Firmness, strength of soul that faces danger with courage and bears loss and pain without complaint. Fortitude. Firmness and strength of soul that faces danger with courage and bears loss and pain without complaint. That's not a theological definition. That's just a definition of the word. When you say a man has fortitude, you're talking about someone who doesn't compromise. Even when there's danger, even when that danger escalates to fear and pain.
The reason why Tate doesn't believe Christianity isn't the solution to society's problems is because he sees worldliness and weakness in the church, which is, again, a pretty accurate diagnosis.
And they say, oh, you were religious before. I was like, religious before how? Christian? What does Christian mean? Like, who's not a Christian? You go to Christian nations and everyone says they're a Christian. Look how they live their lives. Go into the average church. Is anyone actually fearful of God? Anybody? No. The girls are out on Saturday night drinking and then they turn up to church because their parents made them. Like, there's no substance to the religion.
Tate is absolutely correct that a large number of churches in the West are characterized by worldliness and lack substance. But again, the solution is not to discard Christianity altogether, but rather to find true Christians who actually teach against the worldliness and lack of substance that we see in most churches today.
Young people, you need to listen. You are growing up in the most superficial age the world has ever known. A world of make-believe. A world with immediate gratification. You don't have to be anything anymore because you can just pretend. You don't have to work to do anything anymore. You can just play the game. That's your age. What is going to happen to the world when you become 30 and 40? This is who you are. That's it. And if someone takes it away, you'll start screaming like a little baby who's had its milk bottle removed. You want to play war video games all the time, but you can't even do a push-up, and you couldn't even lift a sword. And if someone ran at you in battle, you'd run away crying like a baby. You want to play Minecraft, and you want to build great castles, but you wouldn't even know which part of a hammer to grab in order to hammer a nail. And you've never studied architecture to really understand how you must build a foundation. You're just a silly little boy playing game. And the big problem is, some of you are 30 years old, and yet the law of God, you don't care. You'll never have a real adventure because you just pretend to have one on a TV. You'll never know what it's like to need courage because in the games you play, no one can hurt you. You never know what it's like to be in the presence of God. I imagine that one day someone will make a video game about the presence of God. And it's probably the closest that any of you will ever come to the presence of God. Or His power, or His fear, or His glory, or His beauty. Look what you've become.
Thank you so much for watching into the end. If you'd like this video, hitting the subscribe button helps this channel reach more people with the truth. Thank you so much for your support and encouragement.